But this time we got 12.
Call to order the regular February 25th, 2013 meeting of the Robertson County Commission. We're going to recognize Pastor Dayon Johnson of the Destiny Center for our invocation and be followed by the pledge to the flag. Pastor Johnson, if you'll come to the podium right here.
Good evening, everyone. Just reach, grab your neighbor, just touch them on the shoulder, just to send a little love to them today. Thank you, I needed that. This might be the first time today that they've had some meaningful touch. Let's go before the Father in prayer. Father in heaven, you said in your word that to whom much is given, much is required. And Father, governing your people is such a huge responsibility, God. So tonight, we ask for the wisdom of Solomon. We ask for the patience of Job. We ask for the faith of Father Abraham and the strength of David when he faced Goliath, the courage of Daniel as he walked in the lion's den, and the perseverance of Paul. Finally, God, we ask for the compassion of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And it is in his name that we pray. Let all God's people say amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Pastor Johnson. We appreciate you being here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll press yes and confirm you will be enrolled in the electronic system.
I read up on mine.
Having 21 commissioners present and 3 absent, I declare that we do have a quorum. Commissioners, you have in your packets, first of all, the meeting from January 28th. What's your pleasure? Have a motion by Diorio and a second by Brown for approval. Any additions or corrections? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no, so the minutes are approved. I want to ask our assessor of property, Chris Trauber, and his lovely family to come meet me up here at the podium.
We got a little award for him.
Well deserved.
He is the assessor of the year.
I know that by now most of you are probably aware that our assessor of property, Chris Trauber, has recently been recognized by his peers in Middle Tennessee, but I wanted to take this time to actually show you the award because I think it is significant. It's a great honor for Chris and for his county as well. This comes to him through the Tennessee Association of Assessing Officers, and they proudly recognize Chris Trauber for exemplifying the highest standards of professionalism, service, and leadership as assessor of property for Robertson County for the year 2012. Chris, we are very proud of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor Bradley and members of the commission. Thank y'all for recognizing me here tonight. This means a lot to me, and I couldn't have got this award without my staff, the folks that I work with. I have some fine folks, and without them and their support, I couldn't have received this honor, nor without my family's support. Lisa, my wife, and my daughter Leanna, and they're very supportive of me in everything I do, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Next are reports, and the first report that the chair has is from the Highway Department, 7.1, the questions or comments. 7.2 is a report of the trustee's statement of funds. Remind you that you have until the 28th to pay your county taxes. They're very busy right now, as you might imagine. 7.3 is animal control, questions or comments.
No euthanations in January. That's
no euthanations in January, which I think
no-kill shelter.
Is a remarkable achievement. And I'm sorry, David Blackwood is ill tonight and couldn't be here. I wanted him to be recognized for that, but they are doing a magnificent job. 7.4 is Veteran Service Officer Report. Questions or comments? 7.5 is the Financial Report. Questions or comments? 7.6 is a report from EMS. Questions or comments? 7.7 is a report from Solid Waste. Questions or comments? 7.8 is the Inmate Expense Report. Questions or comments? 7.9 is a report from the Fire Service. Questions or comments? 7.10 is a report from the Gorham-McBain Public Library. Questions or comments? 7.11 is a report from the Planning Commission. Questions or comments? And that is all the reports the chair has. What is your pleasure? A motion by Commissioner Jones and second by Commissioner Bill Gray. They be received and ordered filed. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. So they are received and ordered filed. Have no elections or appointments this month, nor do we have any resolutions on public hearing rezoning. So now we'll get into new resolutions, and the first I recognize Commissioner Lanny Adcock, who is chairman of the Budget Committee for the surety bond for our Finance Director, Jody Stewart. Commissioner Adcock.
Mayor Bradley, fellow commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, this resolution is to approve a surety bond for Jody Stewart, our Finance Director, in the amount of $50,000. It's Resolution 0225130003. A motion to approve it.
Motion and second by Commissioner Eden. Any discussion? Seeing none, if you're in favor of this resolution, please vote yes and confirm. If you're opposed, vote no and confirm at this time. There being 21 votes in favor, none opposed, and 3 absent, I declare that resolution approved. We'll recognize now Commissioner Bobby Couch for 2 resolutions in regards to sick time, first from the Finance Office and then from the Sheriff's Office.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Clerk, fellow commissioners, honored guest, I'd like to present Resolution 0225130004. It's a resolution to grant Finance Department employee Tracy Denote sick time.
And a second by Commissioner Bryan, I have on the board. Any discussion? Question's been called for. If you're in favor of that resolution, please vote yes and confirm. If you're opposed, vote no and confirm at this time. There being 20 votes in favor and 1 opposed and 3 absent, I declare that resolution approved. Commissioner Couch.
I'd like to present Resolution 0225130005. This is a resolution to grant Sheriff Department employee sick time to Brian Raines.
Second by Commissioner Farmer. Any discussion?
Yes. Actually, I had discussion on the last one. The last time we granted the sick leave was last April. I looked back through the minutes today, and at that point it was brought up from the floor that we needed a policy before we started granting sick leave. Now, we have just granted sick leave 14 weeks, 600 hours to a lady, and now we're fixing to give 2 weeks to a gentleman. There's no consistency here. There is no policy. My understanding in some of the research I've tried to do since the agenda came out was there is no medical documentation required. If we give sick leave to an employee and they don't use it, it becomes theirs to use as they please. We don't require them to exhaust their vacation leave before we give them sick leave. There's just simply no rules to do this. And it just seems like we just haphazardly award the sick leave. It shouldn't be the popular employee gets all the sick leave. There should be a fair and equitable way to do this, and we are not doing that.
The chair would simply make the observation that we expect the department heads and the elected officials to supervise this within their own departments. And you're right that, to my knowledge, there is not a written policy that that applies to each department, but I think we would expect that as due diligence from the department head. If there has been an abuse of the policy, the chair is not aware of it. Commissioner Adcock.
I believe I'm correct in saying this, that if they're allowed this sick leave and they don't use it, they don't keep it.
That's not what I was told.
Well, it's according to what I seen or was told at the finance department, it comes back. If that employee doesn't use it, they don't get to keep that.
I spoke with Jody this week, and she told me the opposite of that. She said that she had asked legal. They said once it's given to the employee, it's that employee's.
I thought they just used whatever they needed to do that.
That's my understanding, too. Ms. Stewart, would you care to address this issue? As Finance Director, I'm going to entertain a motion to make Ms. Stewart a member. Have it by Commissioners Gray and Gray. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. So even though we have already approved the one that is particularly in the finance office, it still is germane to the conversation for consistency.
And I understand the employees volunteer this.
Could be canceled in other cases.
Correct?
Yeah, I
I
understand.
mean, they give their time.
Turn right back.
Right.
Ms. Jody Stewart, Finance Director. Ms. Jody, care to add to this discussion?
County Commissioners, Ms. Duggar, she is correct. There are no rules, and the Chairman is correct as well. It's been left up to the department heads to monitor that it's not abused. I don't know of any abuse. And yes, she is correct that I did say we don't go and put it back because the different people go ahead and donate it. But Clyde Richard and myself, the county attorney, have talked about it to make sure that the people at least don't get paid out for it. And I remember talking to Ryan in the Sheriff Department. They're wanting to assure that too. It's supposed to be used just for the sick time that they need it. The young lady, is my assistant director, and she is going to be out on pregnancy leave a minimum of 8 weeks. So that would be half that time. So there's no, like she said, there's
Any
no.
questions for Ms. Stewart? Commissioner Stubblefield.
They y'all have to use vacation time? And do they not have disability insurance? That where they go on long-term disability? In Tracy's case?
They have short-term disability offered to them and long-term. I think the long-term wouldn't kick in until after so many weeks. The short-term would be right away. I'm not positive if she has either one.
So they're offered it, they don't have to take it, and then if they don't take it and they need to be off, then people can just give them time and they get full pay. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I think the sheriff would like to speak to this resolution. I'll entertain a motion to make him a member of the body if is that correct, Sheriff? Did you want to speak to this motion? And entertain a motion to that effect. Have it by Commissioners Kevin Gray and McAfee. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. So, Sheriff, you are a member of this body. You can add to this discussion, and this particular resolution does apply to the Sheriff's Department in person of Officer Raines. Sheriff Bill Holt.
This does not cost the county any money, I understand. Right.
Those days are donated. Sheriff Holt.
Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing me to speak. This is my employee. He had 2 hip replacements, needed some extra time. This time is coming from another employee that we had given time to, and he had 80 hours left over. And we monitored that very close. Y'all were kind enough to let us transfer some time. He had 80 hours left over. This 80 hours is coming from that employee. That's the way we monitor things down there. We have our own books, we have our own paperwork. Everything is deducted, and we know exactly how many hours come from each person. We know how it's used, and this particular individual was gracious enough. He had the 80 hours left over, and we had this particular officer, Raines, they have to use all their time, vacation, everything they got before we were allowed to do this. And we've been doing it for several times, so the accountability is on the books, and anybody's welcome to come and look at the books and see where that is. It is a gentleman's agreement between our employees, and they all know that work for this, and they're trying, it's teamwork, trying to take care of each other. And this man was in dire straits, and needed that help, and the employees came to the rescue, took care of him.
Any questions for the sheriff? Commissioner Eden?
Sheriff Holt, just to make sure what you said that the people in your department
Yes.
must use up their vacation
Yes.
before they accept this.
Yes, sir.
Apparently, that's not true in the other departments. Is that right, Jody?
I'm going to say it probably would depend on what the department head says. If a person is out for sick leave, you would use your sick leave as a rule first. But if they do have some vacation, they could use their vacation, yes. It would.
Well, my comment would be, if I could finish up, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Duggar does make a good point. It's very noble what these employees do, and I think that it is an asset, just like the vacation is a liability on our books, accumulated vacation. So it might make sense if we had some consistency across the board, so that the fine employees of this county would be treated alike, if you will. And I can, I've just picked out a couple of little things that would be an inequity if employee X had 2 weeks vacation and accepted some time, and then still had that vacation. If you're in the sheriff's department, you must use up all that first. So it would make sense if we had some consistency. I don't want to make more paperwork than we can keep up with, but it'd be nice if we were consistent department to department.
Commissioner Stubblefield, did you wish to be
I
recognized?
just wanted to say, I don't want you to think I was questioning your.
No, ma'am.
Your office. I think it's very admirable that every employee that has donated time, either now or in the past. It's very kind of them to do that, and I applaud them for that. I just think that we need, I like your plan. I like the fact that you have your employees use their vacation first before they take this time. I just think we need some consistency. I think we need to sit down, a committee needs to be appointed, or a personnel department do something to make this across the board exactly right. And I do think it's unfair to the people that have taken disability insurance, because if you can get enough people to donate hours, you don't have to use your disability, but you've got that expense. If you've got disability, then you have to go out with 60% pay, as opposed to people that don't take their disability and they get hours donated and they get full pay.
Commissioner Ray?
I think the sheriff's got a very good plan, and I think we need to think about looking at it.
I do too.
County clerk advises that both vacation and sick time are required in her department before this is granted. And I think that is the norm, to my knowledge, in the departments I'm aware of. Any other? Commissioner Dorio?
But without some kind of guidelines, we can't say that that's...
I can't say that's true in every department, no.
I guess this is directed to you. Is anyone aware of what other counties, cities, municipalities do?
I am not. I am not. If this is something you'd like for the personnel committee to address, I'm sure they'd be happy to look into it.
Yes, thank you.
We need some more, Mr. Eden. Commissioner McAfee?
I can say that the federal government does this, has this program in place, and they do require that leave is used before sick leave is granted to
Other questions for the sheriff or for Ms. Stewart? Thank you both. So we are now back to the resolution regarding Officer Raines. It has been motioned and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Question's been called for. If you're in favor of that resolution, vote yes and confirm. If you're opposed, vote no and confirm at this time.
Somebody's not locked.
Right.
It's not me.
They have a bad battery there, Madam Clerk. There we go. There being 21 votes in favor, one abstaining, and 3 absent. I declare that resolution approved.
Who abstains? Who abstains?
I'm sorry?
Over 21.
So there are no opposed. Okay, sorry, no opposed, no abstention.
Yeah.
21 votes in favor, 3 absent, so declare that approved. Thank you, I misread the chart. I recognize now Commissioner Haley, who is chairman of the Education Committee for resolution regarding the Springfield High School athletic facilities. Mr. Haley.
Fellow Commissioners, members of the audience, I bring to you tonight resolution number 0225-13006. If someone will second it, we will discuss it if you like.
And second by Commissioner Garner.
If you'd like for me to read this to you in my lovely voice or encapsulate it for you? Hang okay. What this read it? I don't think you want to. What this involves is there has been a committee established, the Springfield High School Athletic Association, and they had the august dream of putting all the athletic facilities at Springfield High School, and that will involve cutting some timber to allow these fields to be built, and this resolution deals with the cutting of that timber and disposing of it.
Question.
Any question? Commissioner Ray?
Does that include the property that's across the creek from the armory? 65 acres?
No, sir. This is the property down 76 to 49.
Yeah.
Up to 49.
Yeah. The county owns all that property.
Same side of the school.
Correct.
Same side of the school.
We're not crossing the creek, correct? Yeah.
Any further discussion? Question's been called for. If you're in favor of this resolution, please vote yes and confirm. If you're opposed, vote no and confirm at this time.
I don't know. No.
Being 21 votes in favor, none opposed, 3 absent, I declare that resolution approved. There actually is no resolution 5 because 5 and 6 were the same resolution, so I'm going to recognize now Commissioner DiOrio, who will come. What is in your packet is resolution 5 is actually the mitigation plan. So what you'll be asked to do tonight is to approve renewing this plan, which basically is a housekeeping chore from what you did 5 years ago. Commissioner DiOrio.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Clerks, Commissioners, citizens, bring before you resolution number 0225-13008. And it's the resolution of Robertson County, Tennessee to accept the Robertson County Hazard Mitigation Plan document. It's essentially, if I can get a second, I'd like to speak to it.
Second by Commissioner Garner. Okay.
Thank you. Basically, it's the same plan that we've had in place. It had to be renewed. There have been no changes.
No changes.
Whatsoever.
FEMA requires this to be renewed every 5 years, so basically you're changing 2008 to 2013.
And it's basically a strategy plan to reduce the long-term risk due to floods, any natural disasters.
Any questions? Question has been called for. If you're in favor, please vote yes and confirm. If you're opposed, vote no and confirm at this time. There being 21 votes in favor, none opposed, and 3 absent, I declare that resolution approved. And recognize now Commissioner Couts again for surplus property from the Sheriff's Office.
Fellow Commissioners, I'd like to present to you Resolution 0225-13009. This is a resolution to declare surplus property of a 2006 one-ton Ford van for the Sheriff's Department.
Second by Commissioner Jackson. Any discussion?
Question?
Seeing none. If you're in favor of this resolution, vote yes and confirm. If you're opposed, vote no and confirm at this time. Being 21 votes in favor, none opposed, and 3 absent, I declare that resolution approved. We'll recognize now Commissioner Adcock for the next 4 resolutions coming from the Budget Committee.
Well, Commissioners, we have Resolution 0225131010. And this is from the Sanitation Department. It's a balanced budget amendment. I make a motion we approve it.
Have a motion and a second by Commissioner Farmer. Any discussion? Question's been called for. If you're in favor, please vote yes and confirm. If you're opposed, vote no and confirm at this time. Being 21 votes in favor and none opposed and 3 absent, I declare that resolution approved. Commissioner Adcock.
This is Resolution 0225131011. This resolution is from the General Fund. It's a balanced budget amendment. I make a motion we approve.
A motion for approval and second by Commissioner Kevin Gray. Commissioner Adcock. Let me make sure how that one's listed. Okay. If you're in favor of this resolution, please vote yes and confirm. If you're opposed, vote no and confirm at this time. Anyone votes in favor, none opposed, and 3 absent. Declare that resolution approved. Commissioner Adcock.
This is Resolution 0225131012, and it's from the School Fund. It's a transfer of balanced budget. I make a motion we approve.
Second. Motion and second by Commissioner DeOrio. Any questions? If you're in favor of this resolution, vote yes and confirm. If you're opposed, vote no and confirm at this time. There being 21 votes in favor, none opposed, and 3 absent, I declare that resolution approved. Commissioner Adcock.
This resolution is 0225131013, and it's from the School Fund. It's a balanced budget for RSO officers. I make a motion we approve.
Motion, second by Commissioner Bryant. Commissioner Adcock. Questions or comments on this resolution? Everybody clear about this resolution? Ready to vote? Question's been called for. If you're in favor of this resolution, vote yes and confirm. If you're opposed, vote no and confirm at this time. There being 17 votes in favor and 4 opposed and 3 absent, I declare that resolution approved. Anything under old business? Under new business, I'm going to ask for a motion to make Mr. Dan Whitlow, our Director of Schools, a member of this body, and Sheriff Holt, you've already made a member of this body, if he would join us as well. Have a motion by Commissioner Bill Gray, and second by Commissioner DeOrio. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. So, Professor, if you want to come around, Mr. Whitlow has been asked by his Board of Education to come up with some preliminary numbers for SROs for the coming school year. Sheriff Holt's office has also been closely involved in this, so I thought that before any more time elapsed, it would be good to have the two of them come and appear before you jointly so that you might make an informed choice as we go forward about this. This is not something any of us take lightly. We all treasure the safety of our students above all considerations, and so that's why you're now being asked to consider what we have. Let me see if I've got that. Dan Whitlow, Director of Schools.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Commission, thank you for hearing us tonight. What you have in your possession are 3 sheets of paper. The first one is basically telling you what going to happen based on the resolution that you just passed concerning moving some funds into the SRO hourly line item, which will allow us to place officers for 7 hours a day in all of our schools, 11 elementary schools that did not have officers for the remainder of the school year, a total of 54 days. Are there any questions or comments concerning that portion of what you have been presented? That's already passed. We're moving forward from there. But I wanted to give you opportunity to give question. The next portion is I think, Sheriff, what we're really here about tonight, or at least why I'm here right now, is talk about cost estimates for SROs for next year. We have been working with the Sheriff's Department and various police departments across the county. The board, I will say this, the board has yet to vote to pass this. It will be presented to them on Monday evening, the 4th of March. And I would anticipate, based on the previous votes that we have had, that they would pass this. But it's not happened yet, I guess is what I'm saying. But with time being of the essence, we need to get this in front of you. We need to get this on the minds of the commission in terms of whether you want to move forward with it. Sheriff, won't you come forward at this time and talk a little bit about what it's going to take to make this happen?
Throw me under the bus. Ladies and gentlemen of the County Commission, thank you. We have been working a long time trying to figure out what to do, and we were waiting. The Sheriff's Office was taking the position, and we thought this was the thing to do. But we also know that it was up to the school board to make that decision as to how to move forward and if they wanted SROs or how many or which schools to be taken care of. And they made that decision the other night and voted on it that they wanted to go through with this. So as you can see from the figures there, these figures that he gave you on the second sheet, they represent salary and 70% of the benefits only for the Sheriff's Office. That does not include cars. It doesn't include weapons. It doesn't include training. It doesn't include uniforms. It doesn't include gas, oil, or anything. This is merely 70% of the salaries and benefits, and that's for everybody. All the other departments and everybody is pretty much in the same boat. White House today. Well, let's start with Ridgetop. Ridgetop has asked, and the school board is agreeing that they get an SRO for Watauga Elementary. Greenbrier schools, they have presently two SROs in place, and the school board has voted for them to take on another one. Today, I got a call from the chief of police at White House, and he had met with his senior manager, and they are no longer interested in any of the SRO programs for next year. Now, everything's taken care of from now until school's out, but for next year, they wanted to give that up to the Sheriff's Office. They're not interested in participating any further than what they're doing from now till the end of school. So that picks up, the burden comes back on the Sheriff's Office to pick up those salaries. So when you look at it, those figures there represent without any training, without anything at all. When you look at the true figures of the cost, in order to do that, then you're looking at about the initial cost for an officer for everything that he has to have the first year is $58,744. That's first year out. Okay. But to make a long story short, when you take that figure and you multiply it all out, and we can go into great detail if you want to, but what we've come to today and looking at all the salaries and the money is about $1.2 million in new money, okay, for next year. And in saying that, it will be necessary for somebody to make a decision if they want to proceed on. If you want to, the school board wants the Sheriff's Office, or the County Commission wants the Sheriff's Office to proceed on and trying to have something done by the next school year, which starts in second week in August, first week in August. Then there is a time constraints on it, and I'm just going to give you the time calendar. All the people have to be hired, things have to be ordered, and everything has to be done not later than April 17th. The school starts in May the 26th, and then it gets out 10 weeks later, which allows them time to be out on wherever they got to be and try and get them in the school to the time school starts. That's for this year, and that's for any law enforcement agency. Ridgetop's the same way, and so is anybody else that has to hire a new person. Greenbrier, if they have to hire a new person. The problem is there's only so much hours in the schools, and they can only take so many people. And you're required when you hire a new officer, within 6 months, he has to attend the Law Enforcement Training Academy. So the time is there. I don't know what decision the county's going to make. That's up to you all, up to the school board Monday night to decide how they want to go about funding this, or if they want to go forward. We stand prepared to do whatever you all ask us to do. We'll do. Continue as we are. We'll put 1 in. We'll put 2 in. We'll cover whatever schools we're asked to cover by the school board and the county commission is willing to fund. Obviously, the money proposed by the school board is for salaries only, and that does include everything else that you have to have in order to outfit a police officer, whether he be a city officer or anywhere else. You've got to have the weapons and training and uniforms and vests and all the other things that accommodate it. So, having said that, that's a ballpark figure. You know, if we get on and y'all are serious, or we're serious, or whatever we decide to do, whatever decision is made by this body, we're willing to comply, and we'll get down and crunch the exact numbers and give you an exact figure as to how it goes. Part of the money into coming out of their budget, and then the additional money to be required in the other budgets in order to make up the total for the first year. The second year would reduce greatly, and it would probably go down about $400,000 less the second year. That's just a rough estimate, what it would be the second year to fund the whole thing. So you're looking at probably, I just guess, $800,000. We can get closer to that, and that takes care of everybody. That's new money. That doesn't include the money that's already been, that's already in the bill for the guys and officers that are already out there serving you well and serving the school systems. So,
Commissioner Doyle.
Just any questions about it? Yes, sir. Any questions?
Question, I apologize, I could not be at the meeting, but now is this money salary, would this go to maintenance of effort? Would that have anything to do with it?
Yes, that would be included under maintenance effort. Whatever came out of school budget would, yes.
Okay, so once we started this program,
yes, sir.
It would be there forever.
If you run it through the school budget, you're right, yeah.
Okay.
I guess technically, you run the whole thing through the sheriff's budget.
Yes.
Well, that's my next question.
No, I was going to ask that. That's exactly right.
We've got, for the rest of the year, we're using city officers in some schools and sheriff's department in some other schools. Has it been looked at by the board of getting a central, one person in charge? And I know you've got a person in charge of the SRO program, but a leader of the SROs, has that been looked at as one entity with one bucket of money, with one span of control, or are we talking 4 or 5 different police departments and sheriffs?
I think the sheriff's original plan, when he presented it, was for his department to take overall control of the county. And we kind of sent that forward to some of our police departments, and they were they just didn't want to do that. They want to take care of their schools in their areas. Greenbrier want to take care of Greenbrier, Ridgetop want to take Ridgetop. Now, to say that's not possible, if that's what the county commission votes to do and the board votes to do, we certainly could do that. But for the most part, these local officers are cheaper than the sheriff's department, just to be honest about it.
As far as the hourly, but as
No,
far as
I'm talking about totals. I'm totals. If you look back on right now, for example, the city, of course, White House is out. The city of Greenbrier is providing a officer at Greenbrier Middle School. I don't see it listed on here because it's added together, but that cost is about $33. The cost of the sheriff's department, same officer, would be $35. I mean, that's not a huge difference, but,
For clarification.
Yes, sir.
We would vote on the budget, not the implementation.
Certainly,
So
certainly.
we really have no say-so on who would run the program.
Who's it up
Technically,
to?
I guess that's true, but we certainly would listen to what your wishes were. Right.
Well, I guess what he's asking, Mr. Dan, is if we ran it through the school board,
Mm-hmm.
and then Mr. White wants to run ridge tops,
Uh-huh.
you know, would we have to do, then it becomes a part of maintenance of effort. If he wants it, rather than if we run it through Sheriff Holtz, then he's determining what officer is placed in the facility.
If you run the money through the school budget,
Right.
then it becomes maintenance of effort problem. If
Right.
you run the money through the sheriff's department, it becomes whatever the sheriff's department money is.
But the sheriff then would be
Okay.
placing the deputies.
It would have
rather-
nothing to do with the school budget.
Right, then but the sheriff would be placing the deputies rather than being run through the school or in the cities. I think
If
it's
he
what
wanted
Mr.
to. I don't see why the sheriff couldn't have someone that was coordinating with the other cities.
We're just
also.
asking for instance of clarification.
That'd be his decision. I
It's
guess.
been greatly expressed by some of the community, and I speak for Ridgetop. I've been in contact
Right.
with those people at Ridgetop, and they want to definitely be a part of their community. And we all recognize that, and in that original proposal, that recognizing the fact that these local police departments might want to retain their presence in the schools as a community function. And the original money was just set out there that here's a great big figure for everybody to look at. Since then, we've had discussions with all of them. I've talked to all the chiefs of police. Greenbrier wants to keep their school presence. They've already got two. They want to pick up the elementary school. They're ready to go. Watauga Elementary, the Ridgetop Police Department, feels strongly about that. They want to keep that. I've been in contact with Cross Plains. They don't want any part of the SRO program other than what they have at the present time and kind of like a part-time situation that they're in there. They don't want any part of it. Today, as a result of what I explained to you, White House, the city manager and the chief of police there decided that it was in their best interest not to go further. So they relinquished. Up until today, it had been their desire to remain in the system and keep the schools there within the White House district. And after today, they met and they relinquished that to the sheriff's office. So, and as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't make any difference. To me, what I felt like and what I've always said to start with is I think that it ought to be done. Now, who does it, and which officers and what school, it doesn't make any difference to me as long as we get somebody in the schools. And that's what we're doing presently right now on this overtime situation that we're doing. We picked up 3 schools here in Springfield. I call the chief of police here. I don't have enough people to work it on overtime, and he graciously agreed to do that. But he is not interested in starting a new program in the city of Springfield. He doesn't want an SRO program. But he's going to help us till the end of school and pick up 3 schools until we can get this thing in place. So it's a cooperative effort between all law enforcement throughout the county. And what the bottom line is, it's just a matter of, I guess it's a matter of dollars. Okay?
I think the question for Mr. Haley, Sheriff, is would you have, and maybe you answered it and I didn't hear it, would you have a problem with Ridgetop providing the officer for Watauga and the funds coming through your budget to pay for that person?
That was it.
I don't know that I can do that.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, I don't know that I can do that.
That was
But
my question.
if you assume that one, you're already doing the others, okay? In Greenbrier, for instance, you're already doing 2. 1, 3, that would be maintenance effort for 3, maintenance effort for 1 more, okay? So that's how that would work.
If you moved all the money.
All the money for the schools that they are asking the sheriff's office to obtain would come, I think that's what you were asking.
Right.
If you moved it over here, that would not be maintenance effort. So you'd only have those schools that are already operating maintenance effort.
Probably if we moved all the sheriff's deputies to the sheriff's budget and left the school budget just to pay for those who were non-sheriff department, it would probably balance out pretty close.
Commissioner Jackson.
Well, we're picking up some.
Commissioner Jackson.
During the summer when they're off with the school board, the ones that's working.
The full-time SROs that we have employed right now, for example, there's 2 officers over here at Springfield High School, that we, the funds for their full employment is paid through the school board to the sheriff's department. And then the sheriff's department pays them. But they work their hours during the school year. So they go to ball games, both here and away. They travel with the teams to ball games and that type of thing. So they get their hours in during that 180 to 200 days of school time. And very seldom do they have much left over, do the chief?
They do not.
Or sheriff?
Okay, the ones you're gonna hire, will they work just 180, 200 days a year? Or they?
No, sir. You can't hire a man for 180 days. You can't get anybody to come to work. It's full-time, 365 days a year. And we'll find something for them to do for the deputies. And what those deputies will be doing is those in the schools right now, the schools pay overtime for officers to come and work all the ball games. These officers be utilized for that. You've got after-school programs, you've got learning programs, you've got lunch programs early in the morning for the kids. So there's plenty of time in any school that if an officer wants to be there and needs to be there every time school doors open, there's enough hours there to take care of them, just like the one out here at the high school or the one at the middle school or any other schools that we already have.
Commissioner Ray.
I think it's plenty of time.
I was late at the meeting the other night. My letter that I had, the meeting started at 6 o'clock, so I was late. I didn't get there. And I wasn't there when you made your presentation, Sheriff, but I understood from some of the other people that maybe all these RSO officers are going to have a new automobile also?
Yes, sir. It's in the budget. In the car, in the budget. And we can get down to the bear tax and money and how that works, and we get down to the negotiations and figuring out who's going to do what, and all of that's part of it.
Commissioner Garner.
Mr. Dan,
yes, sir.
Something I asked the other night at the joint meeting, just for the benefit of tonight's discussion. I operate under the presumption that our children are no less safe here in Robertson County than they were when they started school this year. What has changed to create the need for this proposal?
My first reaction to that would be to say I believe they're safer than they were when they started school this year. Because we have implemented, I don't know that we've implemented, we have redressed and paid new attention to our policies and procedures. We have raised the level of expectation that we follow those procedures and policies so that we can ensure a higher degree of security for those students. I think, of course, the tragedy in Connecticut is what has brought this to national attention, not just Robertson County attention. I have had a lot of calls, our school board members I know have had a lot of calls from parents who want officers' presence in our buildings. And so I think that is where we're hearing from the sheriff, not only our sheriff, but the Sheriff's Association across the state has initiated a big drive for putting officers in schools. School boards all across the state are talking about putting officers in schools. So that is where the impetus for this idea at least has come from and grown out of.
Well, on that, is it mainly the calls that we're receiving from concerned parents or citizens, or is there something about this proposal that is better than other proposals that the board's considered? I'm just curious on some of the other proposals that the board has taken up. Is it just the Sheriff's Association or telephone calls? What other proposals have been considered?
When I presented this to the board, or actually I didn't present it to the board, Mr. White presented a letter from the city of Ridgetop to the board. The board ensued with discussion, and discussion resulted in a motion to do this. We talked about some other options. We have talked about some other options in terms of the off-duty officers, a smaller number of officers on a rotation, using security companies that would provide the service at a smaller cost. And I don't know, I definitely would not say at a equal quality, but at least at a lower cost. Yes, other options have been looked at. And again, I stress the board has not voted on this particular proposal as of yet. This is, I guess we're trying, there's a big decision to be made, And the better people know about what's being talked about, and the more transparent we can be in terms of sharing what we're thinking with you, then the better we'll be on that situation.
Mr. Bill Gray.
Sheriff,
Yes, sir.
each one of the SROs that work out of your office now, how many you have at Springfield High School?
2.
You furnish each one of them an automobile?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Well, one thing is they have to move around from place to place.
They're at the school, though.
Right. They're not always there at the school. They move around from school to school. If I have somebody sick at another school, one of them may have to leave for a little while and go to another school.
They have a radio?
Yeah, they have a radio.
Can't they call somebody to come get them?
No, so then that ties up another car. We're strapped as we are now. Yesterday, day before yesterday, we had a school here in the county that for 2 days in a row, they had to carry children to the hospital for psychiatric evaluation. You make an arrest, they have to carry the child or the adult, the irate parent. There's all kinds of things besides shootings that go on, and that's what the cars are for. Also, that is about a third of the deterrent, is having that car there. Anybody that comes up knows that there's a law enforcement officer on the grounds, and they're present, and they're ready to do what they got to do in order to maintain safety between parents, teachers, children, or whatever the situation may arise. So yes, sir, each one of them has a car.
Commissioner Jackson.
Couldn't they do like they done with the 2 you're talking about from Cross Plains? Couldn't they call like a road officer to come and pick it up?
Well, they could, but then you're tying up another officer doing something else. It's called answering calls. I've only got 5 officers working, and a lot of times I've only got 3 on the road, so I can't be tying up officers to do that.
One, that's what I was saying, if if they could pick it up for somebody else.
Don't have enough officers.
Other questions? Get back. Question over here, Commissioner Garner.
I'm still marinating.
Okay. Commissioner Doris.
I reckon this one will be for Mr. Whitlow again there. You brought up about the shooting that went on up there and everything, and we regret it and everything, but the day I know from that speaking experience, some of the kids was able to run out the back door to safety and stuff like that, not from experience, but hearing the stuff that they talk about. But on this part, speaking from experience, the doors being able to get out, just like the school right here, the middle school. I mean, the state fire marshal told me said the door was chained and padlocked. How many kids could have got out to safety or something like that? And we got other issues that we need to concentrate on, sir, before we just go spending a bunch of money on. I mean, we got really safety issues. I mean, you can't even, if it's been a fire, anything could have went on. How them kids got out? We're not even.
I'm not familiar with there being a chain on the door. There may have been one day. It may not have been unlocked for some reason or another, but it does not say that way all the time. That was well, and they've been told to quit it twice. Okay, but I don't believe it cost $1.2 million to get the chains taken off the door. We've gone through that. We've looked at that. We've had trouble with folks leaving rocks in doors to keep the doors open, and we've gone around and made sure that they don't do that. So that's worked both ways, but I believe that the situation has been improved. If it hasn't, I would love to know about it.
Commissioner Jackson.
Why couldn't we take and go in there and maybe put a room, like a security room, put more cameras up, fix it where people's got to buzz people in the doors. If they come up there, they talk to them through a speaker. Then, before we do this, that way that if there is a sheriff's deputy or whoever there later on, if somebody comes up there, that way, who are they going to shoot first? They're going to shoot the guy with the gun.
What I did.
And they need to really get it where they can secure the school.
You have identified a valid concern and something that I've told the board, I told the meeting the other night, regardless of what happens with officers, regardless, we've got to improve some facilities so far as getting in and out safely, creating places where someone gets into the architect called it a trap, an area where they can get in the first door, but they can't get out then they can't get out. We've got to work on that. Our architects are looking at that right now. I'm looking at some things that we can do that may even be cheaper, hopefully, than the architect can do. So that is a valid concern. It's something that we're hoping there may be some money from the state to address some of those issues coming in this year's budget.
Also, our portables, like at Chrysler, I know we do the fire out there on it. What about your portables? How you gonna secure them?
Portables are, that's a weak area, no doubt about it. We're made a decision today to put a mechanical gate at that area where the road goes around behind the building. We will close that during the day. That will help. It's not the answer. As you noted, bottom line, there is no answer. There is no, this will do it, okay? But we have to look at what can we do that will provide the highest level of security we possibly can to keep those babies safe, okay? And putting officers in the building, there's no doubt. I don't think anybody can argue with the fact that that is a safety measure that is probably at the top of the level. The question becomes, how fast can we do it? Can we afford to put them all in there at one time? And
Commissioner Stubblefield.
when do we do it? We also got a school building we got to build.
I've listened to all of this, and I understand what you're saying, and I'm totally for securing, being as secure as we can in the schools. However, if this is that important, why didn't it come to us February of last year? Why didn't it come the year before? Why now? I believe this is a knee-jerk reaction to what happened at Sandy Hook. And I'm not saying that SROs are not a good thing in the school, because I believe that they are there, and they do more than just wait for someone to come in with the semi-automatic. They take care of students. They take care of the children that need to go to the hospital or whatever. I understand that, but I believe this is a knee-jerk reaction. I think we need to kind of follow the federal government's guidelines, and they're debating this now. They're debating what to do about this. They're thinking about, the fact that we need SROs in every school. If they decide that that's an issue that they need to address, and that they pass a law that says there will be SROs in every school, they're going to fund it. If we've already appropriated that money to fund these schools, then what would make us eligible at that point to get that money? And if we've appropriated this money to Sheriff Hope's department, say we've appropriated $1.2 million to his office, and then the federal government does grant us the money, even though we've shown that we have the capacity to do it, then Sheriff Hope doesn't have to give us that money back, and it's in his budget. No offense, Sheriff Hope, but that's his money to do anything he wants to with. And I feel like we need to maybe spend a little less money, secure our schools as well as we can with the gates. We can have an SRO standing in front of the building, in the back of the building. They walk all over the building. They can't be on the playground when the children are there, because there's children in the school. They can't be on the school buses. We know the school bus driver can be pulled off and shot and children abducted. We know children go on field trips. They could have somebody come into McDonald's and decide to shoot everybody with a semi-automatic rifle because the place is full. We can't protect the children everywhere. And I think that we need to look at spending money on securing our buildings as well as we can, and just take a sit back and wait for it just a little while to see what the government's going to do. Because I think funding, if they decide that that's a necessary thing, they'll fund part of it.
Can I address the funding? Federal funding?
Let me say one thing. There was a bill that was presented in the House or Senate this past week from the state of Tennessee to require SROs in all buildings. They were going to pay for it, according to that bill. And but that doesn't start to 2014-15, so.
Hadn't passed.
And it hadn't passed yet.
Hadn't passed either. The federal funding right now, as it stands, is about $160 million for SROs across the whole United States. Is $160 million. That also includes counselors and psychiatrists and other people of that nature, and there's not much left for SROs, and Tennessee is not projected to get a whole lot of that, and if it will, it won't come. It'll be in the form of a grant, and you'll have to apply for it, and it will more than likely go, like most federal grants, to the very small impacted people, the small schools in the very small counties. So that money for 1,000 across the United States won't go very far, and we won't get much of it.
If they pass a law that it's mandated in every school, they'll get more funding for it because they get more funding than everything else.
There is no bill mandated in the federal government right now.
We'll recognize Commissioner Jones.
I firmly believe that we should be responsible for keeping our children safe. However, has the theory of the secure doors been discussed? That is, a door that cannot be opened from the outside to go in, but one that can be opened inside to go out. It would be at a lot less cost, in my opinion.
We have some doors like that. The doors, other than the main doors, and that's part of what I'm talking about, bringing some facilities up to speed. There's doors at White House Heritage, for example, that have a plate on the outside. They don't have a handle. You can open from the inside. We have many buildings like that with many doors, but the front doors still are going to have to be accessible to whomever comes up.
Commissioner Adcock.
How many additional officers are we talking about?
I think it's 11.
11 additional officers?
11 additional officers, yes.
At $1.2 million.
About 1.2 first year, and it'll be dropped down to somewhere around 8.5 next year. New money. So that's our best estimate tonight, trying to get some figures. Again, we stand ready to do whatever the school board asks us to do. This is what the school board has asked for. So far, that's where we are with it. Whether or not it goes forward or not is a decision for the school board to make and for this austere body to decide whether we go forward, whether we even do 1, we do 2, or we do 5. For budgeting and trying to give you all an exact figure, that's what came from the school board today about where we're going and what schools. And then, as you see, that changed this afternoon at 4 o'clock because it added three more schools. So the figures changed.
Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. Sure.
Yes.
Is there any studies out there that show better security with what is being proposed versus not being proposed? Obviously, we all know that what's brought this to light was the issues with the shooting up north. I mean, we understand that. However, when we analyze this, and maybe Dan, you know better, I don't know, but what studies show that this is better than what we're doing now? In other words, we all say that, well, we think this is a higher proposal, and that's all fine, but I am somewhat concerned on this that really it's just being pushed through because of the fervor of the moment. And then I've been contacted numerable times by my constituents and said, we don't want our taxes raised to cover this issue. I mean, since the newspaper came out, I've been contacted several times. And so, obviously, we all want the children to be safe. That's obviously important to all of us. But at the same token, we want to be very realistic and analysis on it. And I don't want to become a security state either. You know, there is something about being in the United States and having freedoms and those type of things. So, but we all want to do the right thing.
It goes far beyond shootings. This doesn't necessarily have to do with mass shootings or shooting 1 or shooting 2. It has to be maintaining order and the response time. It's kind of like if your crime rate goes down, then you think you don't need any more officers because crime rate's gone down, versus the crime rate went down because your officers are doing a great job. So I equate that to that when you're trying to do a study. I don't think you can do a study about how many didn't get shot because there was an officer there. There's no way to figure it because it didn't happen. So we're kind of equate that type of
obviously,
study.
if the impetus was because of the shootings, then obviously we have a better time. If it's having a better order and a system, sure, like you're saying, that makes sense to me. I mean, that actually makes sense if we have a better program. But then there's not this huge rush to create something in such a rapid fire method as April the 17th. Then we have a lot more time to slow down and say, okay, we think we have a better policy. We think that this would be a better way, a better implementation. Thank you very much. And that would make sense to me. But I'm not sensing that. I'm just telling you.
Let me build on my experience. I was standing in the school building in Robertson County who had the first SRO in Robertson County about 1994. I don't remember the exact date, East Robertson. And we first started that individual in plain clothes. Mr. Ballard didn't want a police officer with a gun on his hip walking the halls. That lasted about a week, and we decided to go ahead. Those officers that we have in our high schools and our middle schools are extremely valuable individuals. It nothing to do with preventing some guy with an AK-47 coming up to the door. I'm talking about dealing with students on a day-to-day basis, being a authority figure there, being a presence there, that the administrators can put to use in a short period of time to assist in all kinds of situations, from domestic to drug possession, et cetera, fights, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't think having SROs in the schools is a new thought. It's something that we've been growing over the years. Every time that a tragedy such as Sandy Hook occurs, it comes up again and again. I think if you just try to base it on the simple data that's available, you'd be hard pressed to prove that it was the wise thing to do. Okay, 69 shootings in the 15 years, something like that. Of course, the mamas would say, how many do you have to have? All right, and I have to agree with that some too. But I think the real question is, at what level do we want to get in or move? We're already in the business. We've already got 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the county already. Okay, so we're moving up. We're doubling our force, basically, is what we're talking about. So at what rate, what speed do we want to move forward with that? I think that's really the bottom line.
Mr. Eden.
You're welcome. Yes, Mr. Eden. Mr. Whitlow.
Yes, sir.
What I want to say specifically follows what Mr. Brown says and Ms. Stubblefield. And I didn't express myself very clearly the other night at the meeting, but all of those reasons is why I said I like the idea of ramping up more. Now, I didn't realize it was 9 and then we're adding 11, but that's the numbers. I think the truth is, because of this horrible event, there's such a sensational thing on the news and all that, it's probably heightened our security in every school more than anything we could do. And we could actually take advantage of that by not hiring all 11 at once and figure out a plan to ramp up. Now, I wish you would pass this on to the school board, because I really do like that idea. I've heard from a number of taxpayers who said, Don, if you do this, it's forever for our children, our grandchildren. And you can imagine the conversation. I've had 2 principals to contact me, and of course, you can imagine what they said. Well, I would like my own research officer, because we need them here. So all of those things are true. I think I would be in favor of not doing it all at once when we do get a recommendation back from the school board.
Commissioner Garner, did you wish to be recognized?
Well, I would. We had touched on it, or I think you had in several of the answers. We've got architects that we have been utilizing over the last several months to evaluate not only the Springfield cluster, but across the schools.
Security part countywide.
And part of what they've done, as I think interview you had with the Times had said, they have evaluated some of the safety issues. And I tend to agree with much of what my fellow commissioners have said. Is certainly this horror has just brought an awareness of this issue. But I think if we rush in, we're just doing as much of a disservice. And if we take an assessment period to decide without rushing to an issue on one particular proposal, we're doing that much of a disservice. And I would like to hear more from the architects to see if there's upgrades or capital expenditures that we could take, because as you said, we do have a school that we're going to be considering sooner than later. And if at that time we can evaluate all our schools to see if there's upgrades, and then come back, as Commissioner Eden and several others have said, I think that would be a responsible, or I don't want to say responsible, but I think that would be a prudent way to go about that, because everybody wants to do the right thing.
Commissioner McAfee.
I think if you look back in history, you'll see that this is kind of a cyclical thing. Back when I was in middle school, we had a school resource officer, full uniformed police officer that was in our school. And I think a lot of that, without dating myself, was because of the unrest with the Vietnam War and a lot of the riots that were going on. And after a time, by the time I got to high school, we had no resource officer there. But if you look back, you see that it kind of goes in cycles. When things happen in the rural, major corrections to do something, and something needs to be done. And I think that the problem is nobody knows for sure who's going to hit what, when, where, or how. But if we can do something to deter it, that's what we need to look at.
Thank you, Sheriff Holt and Mr. Whitlow. We appreciate your time and your expertise. Anything else under new business? I recognize Commissioner Gray for the election of notaries.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to notaries for this February 25th, 2013 be elected.
And second by Commissioner Brown. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion to adjourn is in order. I had that from Commissioner Brown, and second by Commissioner Brown. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We stand adjourned.
Well, I was just going to go ahead and die.